Welcome to Fireside Chat. My name is Sai. I quit my 9-to-5 job in December where I worked for over 5 years. On top of the employer-sponsored 401k, my employer at the time offered a pension plan called the Defined Benefit Plan. It was all contributed by my employer during the 5 years I was there, and it was 7% of my annual salary. I just finished rolling the pension cash value from my previous employer to my traditional IRA. Let me break down why I didn't leave my free money with the pension plan and instead I decided to roll it over to my traditional IRA. I was with this employer for 5 years when I left my job last year, so my pension was fully vested. I had 3 reasons to roll my pension to my traditional IRA. First, the pension showed only 2 to 3% growth year over year. Second, the pension fund wouldn't show me what it was investing in, so I was not comfortable with that. And third, the future payment for this pension was an annuity, so it wasn't going to be nearly enough for my retirement, and it didn't show me if it was going to be adjusted with the annual inflation rate. And because I left my job when I was 35, I thought it would be a bad investment decision to leave all that money with the pension fund until I turned 65. When I left my job, I had $44,263.44 in cash value, and this was in a defined benefit plan, which is a traditional retirement plan my employer guaranteed based on the individualized formula, and it's not common for the private sector to offer this to their employees anymore while they offer the 401k plans. Keep in mind that this is not the same as the employer 401k, and I already rolled over my 401k to my IRA, so I can talk about that in a separate video. A defined benefit plan is when a company has the complete control of your pension plan, and my previous employer contributed 7% of my annual salary into my pension. I didn't have to contribute anything in this plan. The reason why a lot of companies did this in the past is they wanted their employees to stay with them for as long as possible. Employers could save time and money to train new employees if they had longer employee retention, and employees' pension would increase in value the longer that person stayed with the company. Back in the days, employees rely on the company's pension plan and the Social Security retirement benefits. Today, 401ks are much cheaper for the companies because they have the option not to do the employer match. However, using the employer match is a tactic to retain their employees, so it's sort of like a cash bonus for retirement. My previous employer offered to contribute 4% of my salary into my 401k as long as I contributed 8%. I always treated my employer contribution as an additional bonus to my salary. My previous employer required me to stay with the company for at least 3 years to have a fully vested pension fund, and what that means is if I left the job before 3 years was up, I was only going to get the prorated amount of the pension cash value. So I think it was like 25% during my first year, 50% into my second year, and then 75% between 2 and 3 years. And then when I hit the 3-year mark, then I was 100% fully vested. Based on my final cash value when I left the company, my employer contributed about $8,500 a year into my pension fund with 2.5% average annual return. When I left the company, I had a total of $44,263.44 in my pension. I had to wait about 45 days after I left my employer to decide with what to do with my pension fund. The first option was to leave it where it is and then take it out when I turned 65. The second option was to completely withdraw from it and pay income taxes on the withdrawals. It would have been probably about 32 or 35% in income tax if I did that because of our total gross income. The third option is to roll it over to my traditional IRA without paying any taxes. And the fourth option was to take annuities starting in 2051 in the amount of $102.33 per month for the rest of my life. By the way, if you need help with your personal finances, you can schedule a free one-on-one 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesidechat.com/coaching. So I decided to roll my pension over to my traditional IRA. The main reason was the fact that I didn't want to pay 30% in income tax for the distribution. That's almost $14,000 in tax bill to the IRS. And the second reason was to give that $45,000 an opportunity to grow even more in the long term with the S&P 500 or other index funds. I had two conditions I had to meet to roll over my pension to an IRA. My pension plan had to be a qualified employee plan under the IRS rules. My pension had to be a tax-deferred or pre-tax pension plan in order to qualify. And the second condition was that I was no longer employed by the company, and I met both of those conditions. Since I already had a traditional IRA open with Vanguard, I just had to fill out the paperwork with the pension fund with the Vanguard traditional IRA account numbers. I also had to get a consent from my wife by getting a notarized signature on the form to roll it over to my traditional IRA because I elected to do the joint distribution for my pension plan. They just want to make sure I'm not going through a separation or a divorce, so I'm not taking all the money to myself. I also had the option to send a check to my home address or directly to Vanguard, and I elected to have them mail the check directly to Vanguard because if I don't deposit it within 60 days, then it would become a distribution and I would owe taxes on it. I just didn't want to take that responsibility. And because it was a direct rollover from my pension fund to a traditional IRA, I didn't have to fill out any tax withholding forms to the IRS because I don't owe any taxes on it until I start taking distributions at age 59.5. Lastly, a lot of companies are phasing out their pension plan because it's much cheaper with their 401k plans. If you gotta notice that your company is closing its pension plan, you don't have to quit your job to roll over your pension plan to a traditional IRA. You would just have to fill out the similar paperwork I had to do to get the process rolling. I thought it was a pretty simple process, and as a matter of fact, I think you will have to roll it over to your employer's 401k and not your IRA because you will still be employed with them. By the way, you can get our free FIRE resources by visiting firesidechat.com/contact. You can also check out the Fireside Chat shop, and I have all of my stuff on my bookshelf at firesidechat.com/shopping. Now that I have $45,000 roll into my traditional IRA, my plan is to invest in the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, ticker symbol VTSAX. Because it's such a large amount and I like the dollar cost average, I'm going to invest it over the course of 12 months. I'm going to schedule a direct deposit from the cash account to the VTSAX every 2 weeks. If I divide $45,000 by 26, then it's roughly about $1,700 every 2 weeks. I'm not looking to time the market. I just like dollar cost averaging instead of lump sum investing a big chunk of money in case the stock market continues to be volatile. The market has been going up and down over the last 3 months, and the fund is currently down about 5% year to date, or since the beginning of 2022. I also got another $26,000 rollover from my traditional 401k, which was the employer match. I'm probably gonna set aside $10,000 and buy an individual stock. I just don't know which stock I want to buy yet, but feel free to let me know what your favorite stocks are in the comment section down below. Maybe I'll do a small cap stock that has the potential to become a large cap in the future. I'm also not going to convert my pension from traditional IRA to Roth IRA. I'll just leave it where it is now and wait until I'm in my early retirement to convert it when my taxable income is at the lowest bracket. Anytime I convert any money from traditional to Roth, it becomes a taxable event. So when I'm in my early retirement, the traditional to Roth conversion wouldn't be in the 30% tax bracket, but instead it would be around 10 to 12% depending on the total retirement income. You can check out the detailed video I did on my plan to withdraw $2.8 million, and I will put that link in the description below. Let's look at how much money this can grow into if I leave it in the VTSAX index fund. If the market continues to perform 10 to 12% average annual return, that $45,000 I roll over from my pension fund could turn into $611,000 by the time I turn 60. That's way more than what I would have in my pension if I left the money in there. My early retirement is going to start at age 45, so that $45,000 could turn into $128,000 in 10 years. I also have another $50,000 from my traditional 401k that I rolled over, and another $25,000 from my military TSP when I was still active duty. With $95,000 in my traditional IRA today, with 10% average annual rate of return, I should have about $270,000 by the time I turn 45. If I decided to leave all of that money where it is now in the traditional IRA, theoretically with the same rate of return, I would have over $1 million by the time I turn 60. If I can get 15% average annual rate of return, this could easily turn into $3 million by the time I turn 60. That's the power of compound interest. If you don't know whether you have a pension with your employer or not, I encourage you to contact your HR and find out. You should ask how much they contribute to the pension fund every year and how much in cash value you would have access to by the time it's fully vested. Right now, only about 4% of the US companies offer the defined benefit plan to their employees, so it's obvious that employers are phasing out pension plans across the US. If your employer offers the 401k match, take advantage of it so you don't lose out on the free money. If you want to know more about how the IRAs work, be sure to check out these two videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.